Hey y'all, it's Dawn, and I'm so glad you're back. I've got another fun, budget-friendly DIY video for you today. I got this mirror free off of Facebook Marketplace. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it when I originally got it. But hey, it was free and I can't turn down free. Then I finally had an idea. I took the two side mirrors off and used them to create some new wall decor. First thing I had to do was remove the backing from the mirror. And then the mirror itself. I also had to remove all the nails that were holding the backing on. This thing had a funky smell. I applied a mixture of bleach, soap, and water to try to remove the stink. Since this was real wood, I let the mixture sit on it for a while and then wiped it off with a paper towel. I repeated the process 2 or 3 times. A couple of days later, I used my orbital sander and sanded both the mirror frames down, and then hand sanded the areas the sander wouldn't reach. I used my air hose and blew the frames off and then cleaned them with a tack cloth. I applied a mixture of unicorn spit and water to stain the frames. This is the first time I've ever used unicorn spit, and I really liked it. And it has an awesome smell. I'm hoping it will help mask the stinky on these frames. If you want to try out some unicorn spit, just visit my Amazon store. The link is in the description. At this point, the wood was feeling really dry, so I applied some feed and wax oil and let it sit on the frames for a couple of days. I added water to some Waverly white chalk paint and painted both of the wood frames to give them more of a farmhouse look. I added the water so the paint was smoother and didn't dry so quickly. Once the frames had dried, I used some chicken wire and attached it to the back of each frame with a staple gun. Some of the staples didn't want to cooperate, so I had to use a mallet and a screwdriver to make sure they were in. I then dry brushed some gray chalk paint onto the frame for more of a distressed look. I didn't like how the gray actually looked painted on, So I used some water and a paper towel to smooth out the brush strokes. The final step was to add some more feed and wax. I love this stuff. It smells amazing and it's all natural. I applied a layer to the wood with a cloth. And wow, just look at how amazing these stinky-free mirror frames turned out. They'll be going in my living room now that they're not so stinky. Here's another found in my stash project. I found these 3 old books, which I must have gotten at Goodwill. I thought it would be cute to create an actual book stack with them. I placed the largest book on the bottom and worked my way up to the smallest book. I used a piece of twine and wrapped it around the book several times. And then just tied a bow at the top. Talking about simple. This is the simplest DIY ever. All you have to do is find some old books and decorate your home in this farmhouse style. I think they turned out perfect. Today's video is part of the third Thursday Thrift Flips hosted each month by Tammy from the Rusted Willow and Elizabeth from Southern Gmore Gals. Y'all know I love a good thrift flip, and this is my favorite collab every month. You will find links to both Tammy and Elizabeth's channels, along with a link to this month's playlist in the description. If you love thrift flips, you definitely don't want to miss out on this playlist. Now for another amazing thrift flip. This is another lost treasure I found in my stash and knew I could make it better. I removed the bulb and cleaned the lamp with awesome cleaner. I think it's time to pick up some more cleaner. I'm just about out. And let me tell you, this little lamp was filthy. I decided to take the lamp apart to make sure I cleaned it well. I removed the felt from the bottom and used a pair of pliers to hold the nut at the bottom and unscrew it. And then cleaned all the nooks and crannies of the lamp. I placed painter's tape around the marble at the base because I didn't want to get any paint on it. And I also taped up the socket at the top. While taping the lamp up, I put the lamp back together. I gave the lamp a coat of flat black spray paint. Next, I painted the lamp with a couple of coats of folk art sheepskin chalk paint because I just didn't like the solid black. I used a fan brush and distressed the lamp with Waverly Mineral Chalk Paint. I removed all the painter's tape and decided I would use a Dollar Tree solar light instead of this nasty plug. The cord was very discolored and just looked nasty. Now for the lampshade. I used a cloth from Dollar Tree and placed the shade on it. I used a marker to trace out the shade. Not perfect, but it'll have to do. I then cut the fabric to fit the shade. This is my first time attempting to redo a lampshade, so let's keep our fingers crossed. I know I will. I used my Cricut heat press to remove all the wrinkles from the fabric. I used a stencil and applied chalk couture ink to the fabric. The fabric was longer than my stencil, so I had to do this in 2 sections. This is my first time doing any type of stenciling on a lampshade, so let's all keep our fingers crossed. I know I will. Wow, that turned out pretty stinking cute. I used some parchment paper and my Cricut press to set the ink on the first section of the fabric. I lined up the edge of the stencil with the line edge on the fabric and repeated the application. To apply the fabric to the lampshade, I used Elmer's Spray Craft Bond and a lot of trial and error. Getting the fabric on the shade smooth with no wrinkles was a task, but I was finally able to get it. I'm just glad this spray adhesive didn't dry too quickly. I cut the fabric to fit at the end, folded a section under to create a seam, and attached it. I went around the bottom and top of the shade, folding the fabric under and attaching it to the inside of the shade. Since the lamp will be used outside, I applied a layer of hard coat Mod Podge to protect and seal the lampshade. And as you can see, some of the fabric didn't stick to the inside of the shade. So I decided to trim it off as close to the shade as I could get with a pair of scissors. To finish the shade off, I used some faux leather ribbon from my Amazon store to trim the top and bottom of the shade, and where that footage went, I have no idea, but all I did was hot glue it on. And when I was finished, I had this adorable little solar lamp for my back porch. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please take a second to like this video and leave me a comment. This really helps my channel to grow so others just like yourself can find me. If you just found me, I hope you will join our little family by hitting the subscribe button. If you are already part of the family, thank you so much for your love and support. Y'all are the absolute best. Check out my new Amazon store for craft supply and farmhouse home decor recommendations. All the products I use from Amazon in my videos can be found there. Until next time, happy crafting!